Welcome to the F1 Debate Show.
Has the checkered flag fallen on the British Grand Prix? We discuss why this is possible.
Is Max Verstappen signing or resigning after 5 retirements in 9 races?
The British Grand Prix has been on the F1 calendar for almost 70 years, ever since the beginning, all the way back in 1950. And as things stand, guys, there isn't going to be one, because this week Silverstone has literally triggered their contract from 2019, and there will be no British Grand Prix on the calendar, or at least at Silverstone anyways. Now, it's been in the media for literally the past few months. In fact, for the past year, I would say, ever since the last British Grand Prix, because everyone was saying that 2016 could potentially be the last ever one, or even 2017 could potentially be the last ever one. I remember discussing this with Lyle on the way down there, thinking, what if we are going to the very last British Grand Prix held at Silverstone, or maybe the last British Grand Prix altogether. Now, we actually covered a bit of this story on our very first episode back this year in February, and then we touched on it again briefly in the GP preview show, which came out a couple of days ago on Thursday. So if you haven't catch that already, go and check it out. So we've obviously in that episode there in the GP preview show, we basically gave our opinions on what we thought about it all. So but in this episode, we're just basically going to clamp down on the figures about why basically they've decided to trigger the contract. Now, back in 2010, they signed a 17-year contract with the FIA to host the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Rather, I must clarify that this isn't about the British Grand Prix. This is about the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, in case anyone's getting a bit confused. So Silverstone, the BRDC signed a contract to basically hold the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Now, this contract was due to run out in 2026, but obviously recently it's been played on the calendar and played in the rumours that, is it going to be at Silverstone, or is it going to be somewhere else? Now, when Bernie Ecclestone was in charge, he was basically doing all these figures and everything, giving all the money out to other tracks, and they were like, well, hang on, this isn't fair. This is far too expensive. We can't afford to run this. A bit like India, South Korea, Malaysia, for example. Obviously, when he was in charge, there's loads of other circuits that have been dropping out because they simply can't afford to keep up with it. And Silverstone is now literally came one of them tracks, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see. Now, obviously, in their contract, they had this little clause, it's like a 5% increase on hosting the British Grand Prix. So I'm just going to basically give you a little bit of money figures as to why this is all came about, really, because the BRDC, the British Racing Drivers Club, made a net loss of 7.6 million over the last 2 years of hosting the British Grand Prix. Now, that is a lot of money. So in 2015, they lost 2.8 million in that season. In last year, they lost 4.8 million. So that is a loss of 2 million a year. Now, 2 million in that period of time in the past 2 previous Grand Prix, and they're set to make another loss of a further 2 million at this year's Grand Prix this weekend. Now, that's just upsetting to hear in general, because you should honestly think that, right, the British Grand Prix is officially the most packed, most attended, the biggest weekend on the F1 calendar. Forget all this Monaco rubbish. The British Grand Prix, it's massive. It's massive on the F1 calendar, not only for the British fans, but for all F1 fans around the world. Now, you should honestly think that because of the hospitality, the VIP access that they get, or the ticket sales, the profits on that, should be able to keep this British Grand Prix at Silverstone afloat, and it's not working out. Now, over these years, it obviously when they signed the contract back in 2010, it actually cost 11.5 million to host a Grand Prix. Now, it sounds a lot of money, but it was affordable. Let's say, it was reasonable when they signed the contract. Now it's 16.2 million, so it's gone up a further 5%. Obviously, as I was saying, it keeps going up every so often. So, and obviously Silverstone's at the point where, well, in the future, by the end of this contract, it's going to be at least 25 million to host a Grand Prix, which is like, and they're going, well, we can say now that we can't simply do that. It's just impossible. So we're going to run up. We're literally just going to dry up all our money. It's going to go nowhere, and it's just going to ruin things for everybody. So we're literally going to be, having instead of having a Coca-Cola stand, you're going to be having your Tesco's own value stand, or what I mean. Instead of like having an official Mercedes merchandise store, you're going to have your own back alley over in Spain where like Mercedes or whatever. Or Patronus, sponsors, like literally cheapskate sponsors, where you can get like a shirt for like 10-15 euros all the way back in Spain or whatever. So that's how bad it could have been. So luckily obviously they've looked in the future and they basically said, right, we can see where this is going, and this isn't going to work for us. So obviously they triggered the contract. As things stand right now, at time of record, at time you're watching this, it is no British Grand Prix is on the calendar from 2019. Silverstone, or the British Grand Prix, is the last one in 2019. Now, that was with Bernie Ecclestone when they signed this 17-year deal. Now Liberty Media's in charge. Now, ever since they came in at the start of the season, it's been literally, I would say it's been very, very positive so far. They've brought in this F1 experience. Obviously, it gives fans a bit more access into the world of Formula 1 at a Grand Prix event. I mean, they did that. I think they first brought that in Spain, where you could go around the track in like I think it was an old Minardi V10 2002 car, I think it was. Obviously, it's like a double-seater, so like you're in the passenger side, and you have an ex-F1 driver or an ex-test driver or whatever driving you around the circuit, which is absolutely brilliant. And obviously, tours around the team facilities and stuff like that. So obviously, it gives you brilliant access to actually go and do that. And this week on Thursday, they gave Wednesday. Well, I think it was Wednesday actually. It might be Wednesday. I'm not too sure. But this week, anyways, they introduced F1 Live, which is obviously in the streets of London, Trafalgar Square. Obviously, have all the teams set up all together like a proper Grand Prix weekend. Obviously, not as serious. Had like their own spin-off cars or whatever, and obviously gives the fans actually access to see the cars in person and the team personnel such as Christian Horner, Maurizio Arriva-Bene. You had Toto Wolff there. You didn't have Lewis Hamilton there. I don't know why he wasn't there, to be honest with you, but that really wound me up. That I was like, oh come on, Lewis, really? Like, what is going on?
It wasn't great.
But also as well, obviously on the.
I mean, the thing is, yeah,
go on, sorry.
I was gonna say, the thing is, obviously, he says that he needs to, he's nice to his fans and stuff. That was a bit of a, not good. From what I've heard, is that he just wanted a bit of like a break, getting his thoughts together for the British Grand Prix. Yeah. I know he turns into like philosophical Lewis when it comes into the British Grand Prix. Obviously, he wants to go out, with no problems and stuff like that. But yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice for him to be there, but obviously everyone else was be there. Obviously the main one would be like people like Max Verstappen, who can just fill a grandstand when you just hear his name. And obviously, unfortunately, Austria didn't go his way, but you know what I mean, though. He can fill a grandstand. Everyone else was there. It was an amazing event, and I'll tell you something, I hope they do that again. I hope they do that next year and for many years to come. And also not just London, I hope they do that in other places as well. Obviously other places that we know Formula 1's popular, maybe like Melbourne and other capital cities, maybe somewhere in America, Canada, over in Asia, more popular, more access to the fans. But it really was great.
I thought that was a really, really great idea. So I thought it was a bit strange when they announced this F1 Live thing in London, literally on the same day that they said Silverstone was going to be triggering the contract to end it altogether. And I was like, well, here come the rumours of, there's going to be a London Grand Prix, and I'm not too sure about that one, but obviously that's for another episode. So Liberty Media are now in charge. Now, the BRDC, that's right, that didn't sound right there when I said that. I basically said that they are going to try and work with Liberty Media to get a new contract in, so to basically make the British Grand Prix at Silverstone more affordable, because in our lifetime, in mine and Lyle's lifetime, it's always been at Silverstone. It's either been at Aintree back in the 60s, then you had it at Brands Hatch, back and forth, Silverstone to Brands Hatch, and ever since 1987, it's been at Silverstone. So again, it's been a lot of people's lifetime. It's been at Silverstone. Obviously, it is the home of Formula 1. It's where it all started. It's where it should be. Now, hopefully, it can stay. I would love it to stay because one, I want to go back, but two, it's just heritage, isn't it? It's like getting rid of Stonehenge in England, or it's like getting rid of, you know what I mean, like a very good traditional landmark in the world. You know what I mean? It's like one of them things. I don't know why I said Stonehenge. It was the first thing that came in my head. But you know what I mean? Like a world.
Honestly,
Stonehenge. I've never been there actually. But like a Statue of Liberty. They said, right, okay, you're coming down. It's like yeah, that's better. It's like that. Getting rid of that. It's like, well, no. It's basically similar. It's basically similar to that. So hopefully they can work with an agreement with the Liberty Media Group to keep this F1 to keep the Silverstone hosting the British Grand Prix. However, if this doesn't go to plan, I think there will be a British Grand Prix. I think they'll hold it somewhere else. We've discussed that before, where it might be held, where it could be held, that type of thing, and obviously given our opinions of where we think it would be held. In my opinion, as long as there is a British Grand Prix, I'm not bothered where it's held. I mean, Brands Hatch will do for me, Donington, Croft, or wherever, somewhere. Silverstone, preferably.
Croft, that would be cool.
That'd be cool. Where we live, actually. So
I know.
Exactly, so that'd be cool. But no, as long as there is a British Grand Prix on the F1 calendar, I'm not too fussed where it's held. So Lyle, what's your overall opinion on all this scenario that's been going on? Silverstone losing out on money, basically saying we're scrapping the contract, we want a brand new contract, or we might just say, right, we'll leave it and we'll keep Silverstone for one-off things like we've seen with the Williams thing, and then have it for other sporting events like MotoGP, touring cars, the 6 hours of Silverstone and that type of thing. So, what's your take on everything that's been happening this week at Silverstone?
Well, obviously, firstly, there's going to be a British Grand Prix. Of course there is. I mean, you kind of get rid of Britain. And also, you can't do something like F1 Live in London and then say something like, well, they're giving the fans access on this one day for quite a small event, obviously, when a lot of people can't go to, and it wasn't planned. It was announced on a single day, and as John said, on the day that Silverstone was scrapped. But there will be a British Grand Prix, and obviously I'll get into that in a little bit. But obviously Silverstone, it is the home, and also, I mean, stepping out from a facts point of view, like what John's has given, like all the facts and the statistics and the money, from a fan's point of view or an outsider, it is just Formula One. Like the crowds, we talked about in the previous show, we talked about that. We said obviously it's got the highest amount of in Friday Grid as well. It was a fact. We give the highest amount of campers and things like that, which obviously is great for the sport, because it just shows that Formula One might be a worldwide rich sport, if you like, but you can just camp and kind of like like camping, really. I mean, it's like you're eating off a tin mess tin and stuff like that, but it's fun, obviously. So you've got the highest amount of that. You've got loads of fans. I mean, their attendance was something like 150,000. It's always grand. It's always packed. I mean, you've got standing people and general admission. You've got people standing in the stands. You've got amazing coverage. Everything. It's a worldwide sport. I mean, it just is amazing to think that this has been like scrapped, and it's almost like they don't care about Silverstone anymore. So. Wow. And also, how they're not making that money. We saw when we went last time how many people there was there. The amazing support that they have. I mean, I took a photo when we were on the track. I took a photo all the way down into turn 1 at Abbey. And I'll tell you what, obviously, like Monza, for example, the Italian Grand Prix, obviously, we haven't gone, we haven't been, but it's amazing. Obviously, you go down all the way in turn 1 into that little chicane, and that's obviously what it looks like when the Tifosi's all the way down there. And that photo reminds me of obviously like that, but obviously it's in England down to Abbey, and just shows the amount of fans that are there. And then you think that equates to money. Where is that money going for? All the people paying for hospitality, all the people flying in and out. Again, when I went a few years ago, we saw all these. Last year as well, we saw all these helicopters going to and from. All this money is in Silverstone, and you just can't believe that it's going like that. It is a real shock. Obviously, Silverstone has so much legacy as well. It's like it is the place to go. It's the place. Even if you're not from Britain, it's like the thing to do. It's the race. It's the one that everyone wants. People say that about Monaco, but it's obviously your home race as well. But Silverstone is a great one. And it's Silverstone as well, Brands Hatch was great in its day, Donington was great in its day, but it's Silverstone. It is the one. It's just it's more. I don't know. It's just more of a shock. I can't really get over it. It's Silverstone. Obviously they built that massive concourse as well. Obviously for the 2011 Silverstone Grand Prix. Obviously. Yeah, put all that money in, all the hospitality, everything that goes in about it. It's a massive weekend. It was the second biggest. Again, I'm using the facts that I give our question Jordan about in Friday Grid. It's the second biggest, or last year it was anyway, the second biggest multi-stage event in the UK. Obviously behind Wimbledon, the tennis event, obviously for 3 weeks. Very posh and all that, but. That's that is a massive thing. Obviously, you're beating other things as well. Obviously, things like all like golfing events. Obviously, things like the Tour of Britain, the Tour de Yorkshire. Loads of other British events that you're beating. In terms of this, is absolutely fantastic. And then the third thing as well. Obviously about the British Grand Prix, there will be one, but I just think that if you go to somewhere like Brands Hatch or Donington Park, well, using Brands Hatch is a tiny bit more updated to that, but even things like that in Brands Hatch, it's just not an updated circuit. Yeah. Compared to Silverstone. In Silverstone you've got all these runoff areas. It's adapted to obviously the regulations, but it's also just adapted to a fun, way of watching it. Yes, the grandstands aren't fun. They're not like Abu Dhabi style. They're not all obviously like lovely and that. They've still got pillars. It reminded me of like the old Anfield stands where like you had those pillars in the way and it would be kind of like hard to see past them. What I mean? But it is just it's set out for Formula One, for Formula One fans. Obviously it's got a great middle part with all the grass, obviously, so you can put things like like the carnival rides. You can put things like team stalls, the stage, obviously when they had all the driver meetings, and obviously the F1 village, which obviously is very famous now. Obviously got much bigger in the last few years, especially obviously with Liberty Media as well. It will be somewhere else for sure. The British Grand Prix is not going to go. It's a famous, very famous thing. just to go to that country, it's great. But it's just a real shame that Silverstone's going. And the thing, I don't know. I mean, the fans are really not happy about this. If it was anything else, I mean, we've seen tracks like, as John said, we've seen tracks like India go, South Korea go. We'll probably see, we've seen tracks like that, but I don't know, Silverstone is a very, very special one. And
it really is a massive shock. Germany as well, with the Nürburgring as well. I mean, they had problems financially, and obviously look what happened to that. That's a very famous circuit, you know what I mean? So it's just one of the, it's just one
exactly.
Of things, sadly, where money is pretty much ruined it again.
Yeah.
Through Bernie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we know last year there was a lot of talk about money this and money that. It's money really. It's almost like the battle of the who's got the most bills in the pocket. But obviously, I mean, it is a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept, and it's ridiculous that Silverstone is going. But obviously, as we say, we mentioned in episode 38 when we came back that Chase Carey is trying to get Silverstone back, and he said as well, in terms of like quotes, he said that there will be. Silverstone will stay on the calendar, but it's hard one, and also as well, it's not to it's almost like Liberty Media can say one thing, and Formula One can say one thing as well. Like they can put their input in, but obviously it's about the Silverstone organisers and obviously what do they think. But in terms of a fan perspective, I mean, honestly, it's like you kind of say when you go to Silverstone, you like from the air, you can't see anything else than track and cars and fans. There's no such thing as grass there because you just can't see that. It's all about fans. It's all that. It's the mecca of motorsport, which obviously we've said many times. It is the mecca of motorsport. It's a great place to go to. Obviously, where it all started in 1950, very special. The heritage in there, the race that they had there, the people that have been there, the people that have stood on that track, very famous, and you won't get over that. And by the way, John, just when I say people that have stood on that track that are famous, I am referring to. Us.
Of course, as we did.
If
you didn't watch
obviously.
When you watched it when we went last year. But obviously, I've just been thinking there, obviously, about ticket prices and stuff. Because I remember when we were on after the race, obviously, you went to the main stage, at one of the old sections of the track. I can't remember where it was. Was it
where the track? Where the
it was like the old section. I can't remember the corner now. But basically,
I can't remember. I know the one that you walk on.
Yeah. So basically, obviously, you had like the big stand on. You had like bands playing and stuff. You had then obviously you had the drivers, didn't you? Like Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, all them. But before that, you had one of the organisers of the British Grand Prix, and he was basically saying that he was going to try and work out some sort of ticket pricing, because I remember when the tickets came on sale. I remember especially in 2015 and 2014 and 2015 when seeing the prices of the tickets, it was like, well, even 2016, it was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, why is it so expensive? And obviously, then he was basically just trying to clarify that we are trying to work it out basically. So we should have really seen signs then that this was going to happen. But as we said, we need to try and calm everyone down, reassure everybody that this is when Bernie Ecclestone was in charge. This is still Bernie Ecclestone's contract.
Yeah,
a bit like with like how Malaysia's going because it's like kind of fallen out of favour of, like, maybe it doesn't agree with the policy of the new owners. They might say, oh, not really, I don't really want to be part of that. Or they might have thought about this 2 or 3 years beforehand. So you don't know how long this has been coming about for. Obviously, it might have been inevitable for them, but for us, it was kind of like, I don't know. Is it just rumours at the moment?
Yeah. But do you think Liberty Media are fight? Do you think Liberty Media are fighting to get Silverstone back?
Right,
because
definitely.
Obviously, I think it's almost like, I mean, I'm not saying Bernie did damage to Formula One. He was fantastic, and obviously we sent him off in episode 38, kind of in style. We talked obviously all the greatness that he had in his past Formula One life, but. I think that Bernie Ecclestone, he just wasn't treating Silverstone very fairly in terms of that. Obviously, about the ticket prices and things like that. The openness of Formula One. But I feel like Liberty Media are doing a lot more now to try and get it back. And also as well, I mean, honestly, that thing on Wednesday, that the F1 Live in London, I think that just definitely helped, because it was almost like, obviously, it's Silverstone is not too far away from London, but people who can't go to London will see the Formula 1 cars, and then it'll just spike. It's a bit like, the NFL, the American Football League, when that came to Britain. Okay, it came in 2007. I believe it was Los Angeles that played the first game, the LA Rams, and they played at Wembley Stadium, and it took off massively. And obviously since then, it'll be 10 years. Again, they've got 2 games at Wembley and 2 games at Twickenham. And again, Twickenham's quite a new one. It was only used last year as well. That was like the first time. The first time a non-rugby league rugby game had been played there in 107 years, which obviously, is massive. That was probably when Twickenham was just the hallowed turf and nothing else. No stands or anything like that.
back in the day.
But anyway, just obviously on an unrelated note, 'cause I know we're not talking about rugby or NFL, but obviously remember that spiked the the love for that sport. And I know that other thing they've done that as well, like Aussie Rules football. That's gone and played in New Zealand, and then about a year later, the fans in New Zealand that like Aussie Rules football have been in like the tens of thousands and things like that. So yeah, I think that definitely helped Formula One when just to see those cars in London. It's whoever you are, big, small, man, woman, child, whoever you are. I reckon they saw those cars and they went, "Wow, that's amazing." And then they're looking at Formula One, and also they'll obviously Silverstone, not too far north from London. They'll go and it's all about bringing these fans in.
Exactly.
I know it's about money, but it's almost about getting what the fans want, and I think Liberty Media will do that. So I do believe that they're helping a lot. And they're bringing more fans in, which again, obviously, as you know, Formula 1 has a massive fan base. As I said, about 150,000 or something like that were there, either in the stands or general admission, either camping or in a hotel.
I think one of the key things about all this, with Liberty Media being obviously so upbeat about bringing the fans into the sport, and also as well, trying to fight to keep European races in the calendar, and especially Silverstone as well, is Ross Brawn, who was a team principal. So he would... Obviously, when he was team principal at Ferrari and Brawn and and them teams were with him, Benetton, he would obviously want certain things within the F1 calendar. So obviously he would want a race here, or he want this rule implied, that rule implied. He would want money dished out fairly and stuff like that. Even though he was always with the bigger teams, but still, Ross Brawn's a fair guy. So obviously he's then guiding Sean and Chase to obviously to them, and obviously he'll then go into the mindset of a team principal and going, what would Toto Wolff want? What does Christian Horner want? You know what I mean? So
Ross Brawn's fantastic. Ross Brawn is honestly, he's a fantastic guy because obviously because he's been with the big team, obviously the biggest team being Ferrari, and then he's been in minor teams. Obviously he's been through Honda, and then obviously he was with Brawn, which was unbelievable. I just saw on the Wednesday when I saw JB and Ross Brawn on the stage together, I'm just thinking honestly JB will owe him so much, for getting in that championship in the blink and you'll miss it moment. As I've said, the blink and you'll miss it season, but it's also amazing because he's been with the top team, he's been through Ferrari, he's been through smaller teams and his own team, and then now he's helping them. He's kind of like their guy on the inside, like an inside job of a heist or whatever. It's almost like, as John just said, he can advise Chase, who obviously might not know. Well, he didn't know much about Formula 1 when he came in. He might probably not know as much, but Ross can help him in terms of what he knows the fans will want from the cars, because obviously he'll have seen that in his many years in Formula 1. He'll have sat in many press conferences, and obviously he'll have basically know what Formula 1 wants, and obviously he's been to Silverstone before, he's been to Brands Hatch and treks like that, and he just knows what they want. So it's great that he's kind of like the man on the inside for Liberty Media. What I mean?
Obviously Ross Brawn, as I said, is very key to this. I hope obviously you guys probably agree as well. It is all about getting the young fans in, and obviously trying to keep the current fans happy. That's key, isn't it? Obviously keep us happy. If we're happy, then I think everything should move swimmingly. But obviously, as ever,
you're happy, I'm happy. That's how it works.
Exactly. So obviously, should Silverstone, obviously, and your guys as well, should Silverstone stay on the F1 calendar, or do you think? I think it's time for another track. What do you guys think? Let us know.
Silver stay or Silverstone gone? That was crap, but I put that in the intro anyway. So Red Bull is a team divided at the moment. You've got one side of the garage who's happy with obviously 5 podiums consecutively, but then on the other side of the garage you've got 5 DNFs consecutively, and obviously that is a massive difference. There's no rivalry between obviously the two drivers, but obviously we're going to talk about the DNF guy, Max Verstappen, and we know that it's not his fault. There's a lot of things obviously that have been happening. Car reliability, he's had problems. Obviously he had a big blowout in Canada, he had obviously a blowout in Baku when he would go again on the radio, and obviously he was caught up in the crash with Kvyat and Alonso, and he broke the suspension on his car on the first lap in Austria. So obviously there's a lot of things that aren't going his way at the moment, and obviously Max Verstappen we know is a title contender. He wants to win the championship, and obviously he didn't do it in 2015 when obviously his first year. He didn't do it last year because obviously he was trading places, and he did the first 4 races with Toro Rosso. He wasn't going to do that. I mean, if he did, it would have been amazing. And this year was going to be his year, and obviously we've talked about that absolutely loads. But anyway, Max Verstappen has kind of lost it now. He went to the team in Austria. He went, right, okay, I'm sick of being in this car, okay, and obviously after Canada and after Baku it was like, I'll put up with it if I have to, and obviously again, Red Bull's title hopes are staying alive, obviously with Daniel Ricciardo getting the podiums, but obviously, for me it's not going very well. For me I'm not happy about it. And then Austria, obviously at the team's home race as well, so again, and obviously in front of all the Dutch fans that were there, he didn't really look very strong, and we all know that he's a great driver, but he just wasn't shown, especially to the fans who had just come in and gone, oh, I've heard this Max Verstappen's a good good prodigy. Let's see how good he is, and then obviously they say that he's not very good. So he's getting a bit sick of this. Anyway, that he's basically said to Christian Horner after Austria, he said, I want you to sack me, okay, so that I'm free to go to another team. And then he's also said in his testimony that he said in the press conference, he said that he wants to be at Ferrari by the year 2019. Okay, that's when his contract ends, in 2019. So obviously he will stay with the team for the rest of this year and through 2018, which is next year. He will also be with the team in 2019, but he has like a loose contract at that time, which means that he can, if it's open to other offers, that he can go to another team, depending if they want to buy him out of that contract at that time. Now, of course, Red Bull can, buy him out of the contract, which means obviously they can do whatever they want. They can change Max around, but he can't just leave a team. He can't leave Red Bull because he has a contract with them at that time. And obviously, any other team who wants him can, obviously, they'll have to wait until he's done. I mean, I think they can offer him money and things like that. They can throw money about, a bit like obviously what Mercedes did to Williams to get Valtteri Bottas. But at the end of the day, he can't just leave Red Bull because he's got a contract with them until the end of 2019. But he wants to go to Ferrari. He wants to be in that Ferrari seat by 2019. I don't know if that means how it reads. I don't know if that means that he wants to be at the team next year, but he definitely wants to be at the team by 2019. Obviously, I don't know if that means Raikkonen goes or Vettel goes, but Max Verstappen wants to leave Red Bull. Basically, he said that the car isn't good. He said, 5 retirements is just terrible by the car. It's really, really bad. I'm turning into a bit like a McLaren Honda driver, and it's embarrassing. And it's not. It's not what I need. Well, it's embarrassing. It's a bit like again when he was at London the other day. We know how great he is, and again, like what I said in the first segment, he can bring fans in wherever he is just by saying the name Max Verstappen. He can fill a grandstand for sure. You know what I mean? He's very popular, but obviously he's very frustrated at this time because obviously he's losing. He's lost 5 races and he's slipping down the World Championship table at this time. Obviously, when the big guys are running away with it, obviously he can't afford to be staying still and even going backwards. Really, it's not going well for Verstappen. But obviously Max Verstappen wants to leave, which obviously was the big talk of the town towards obviously after Austria and towards the start of the week. But now Jos Verstappen and Christian Horner are both come out. Obviously Jos Verstappen being kind of like Max's next to a manager, the closest to a manager that you can get, and he's basically said that it's absolutely false and that Max will be with the team until the end of 2019. And Christian Horner said that he is that Max, unless he doesn't re-sign with Red Bull, he is free to move to a team in 2020, obviously for the 2020 season, which obviously is the last season that McLaren has to win by, otherwise they'll be a worse team than Williams. And I think we've said that last year. I just wanted to bring that stat back. Just a quick heads up by that, McLaren have got to win by November of 2020, or they'll be worse than Williams when they had their seven-year gap of not winning. But anyway, that's obviously a different thing. But Max Verstappen, yes, so he's free to move in 2020, but he can't move obviously before then, which is he wanted to. Obviously saying that he wants to be sacked by the team to freely move around the team, that was a bit strange, because basically he was saying that he wanted to leave, which is obviously kind of like a resignation, not really getting the sack, but he wanted to resign from Red Bull so that obviously he'd be out as kind of like a free agent in football terms, and then that another team, obviously like Ferrari or someone, would re-sign him. Obviously the benefit of that would be that he wouldn't be in a contract at that time, and obviously again like Ferrari or even Mercedes would be free to take him, even though Niki Lauda has said clearly as well that he is not going to Mercedes. But Ferrari is definitely on the horizon for Max, and obviously Jos has kind of slid in, like a ninja kind of thing, saying that Max he might go to Ferrari. It's on the horizon, but obviously he was happy with Red Bull, at that time, but obviously he's not with 5 retirements, with obviously when his teammates getting 5 podiums. So obviously it's a bit of a tactical move by Verstappen saying that, and obviously he's not very happy heading into obviously the team's second home race, obviously at the British Grand Prix, obviously where again you'll have a big fan base as well. It's a bit strange because we know that he's not happy with that car, he's not happy in the team, and he wants to go somewhere else. Obviously Max Verstappen, 5 retirements. It isn't great when he wanted to be in that championship contender spot. And as we've said in other episodes, that Max Verstappen wants to win the World Championship, and if he doesn't win it by next year, that's almost it for wherever he is. He's going to move, and that's the thing, he's going to keep moving. I don't think there's any time by saying to Max, just calm down and just stay kind of like a drifter, like somebody who will be in Formula 1. I mean, obviously no disrespect to Mark Webber, but a bit like Mark Webber, being in a team, and Rubens Barrichello, like being in a team and not winning the World Championship but doing a good fight. Max has one goal in Formula 1, and that's to win the World Championship. And I'm not saying that other drivers don't, but obviously that's what he wants to do. He wants to be at a team, wherever that is. He might even be McLaren, which is not, obviously, but he would be with McLaren if they had a chance of winning the World Championship. But obviously, yeah, I mean, it's not the best thing by Verstappen to say that obviously he wants to leave Red Bull. I mean, obviously he can move onwards and upwards, but he kind of came across that he's very frustrated with the team at this time. So obviously, Max Verstappen, I mean, we touched on it. It's a bit like McLaren, it's a bit like every time you mention them, they got worse and worse and worse. But obviously after Azerbaijan, we mentioned Max. We had him obviously in a big topic as well, obviously saying that before obviously we did the Mercedes talk, which obviously you did on your own. We then moved on again to Max Verstappen in Azerbaijan. After Azerbaijan, obviously talking about what's happening with the team, is he sick of them? Again saying like, here we go again on the radio quite fiercely. And then obviously after Austria as well, it's not good for Max, and then he's come out with this slur. So what do you make of that? I mean, it probably is going to be an onwards and upwards for Verstappen, obviously trying to get out of that contract. I think he's always going to be fiddling that. But I mean, how do you see him at Red Bull at this time? Because it's a very strange move for that. I mean, we always knew Max was going to be quite a strong guy to fight with, but I don't know, it's quite a strange move that he's done, kind of like ripping the team and saying that, I don't know, just kind of jumping to conclusions and like just saying, like get rid of his sack it straight away because I don't want to be with the team. What do you make of that? It's a kind of a rushed decision, don't you think?
Probably is, because I think it's just all the frustration that Max Verstappen has, because going into the season, his main goal was actually to try and challenge for the title. Maybe not try and win it. You might say, maybe Red Bull don't have the pace compared to Mercedes, because we didn't know Ferrari would have this pace. Ferrari should have been Red Bull this season, in my opinion, but it's obviously Ferrari's managed to get the pace apart from Red Bull. Max Verstappen was second favourite behind Lewis Hamilton to win the Drivers' Championship for this season. Obviously, that's now like no longer anymore, is it now? I don't think you can win it now. It's possible.
Yeah.
But it's very, very unlikely. I think it's just the sheer reliability of the car he's had, just the bad luck he's going through, which is like kind of like a reverse figure of last season when he had all the good luck, getting all the podiums and a race win, and then Daniel Ricciardo was getting all the bad luck. So it's like, well, you had the good luck last year, so maybe it is your turn. But I don't think this is going to last forever. I think it is going to get better as the season goes on. It's just one of them move. He's going through basically a blip in his career where nothing's going his way, and if he stays in Formula 1 long enough, he's going to go through that again. Probably a worse one than this, because obviously if he does go through another one like this, where he might be a two-time world champion, fighting for his place at say Mercedes or Ferrari or still Red Bull, let's say, or maybe even another team, depending who comes in the future. So I think he is going to go through one of these again. But I think there's also a lot of pressure on Max Verstappen, because when he came into Formula 1, he was tipped for big things as a kid, wasn't he? Because just how quickly he came from the lower ranks into Formula 1, like go-kart and Formula 3 and stuff like that. I never heard of him till it was just so weird how I came across Max Verstappen, because all I heard was, oh, by the way, there's this guy who's won a race, he's won a championship. I was like, okay. Oh, by the way, he's signed for Red Bull, his first race for this Red Bull junior team, he's won. Oh, by the way, he's signed for Toronto next year. I'm like, whoa, everyone just slow down. What? I'm like, what's the surname again? Like, who is he? What nationality is he? He's like, what the hell is this? I honestly, it was mental. But then, obviously, taking him for big things and everything. When he came into, I think he earned his respect at the Brazil 2014 in FP1 when he saved the car from obviously when it famously drifting. Around I think about turn 6, I think it was, or maybe turn 7, I'm not too sure, but obviously everyone should know what I'm on about. But obviously it's just not going his way. Obviously looking towards the future, possibly a move to a Ferrari would probably be good. I mean, look what's happened to Sebastian Vettel. I mean, he had a very good spell to Red Bull, winning championships left, right and centre when Red Bull were on top, but one bad season and he was out. It was like that's a debatable whether he generally did know he was going to Ferrari in a couple of years, or whether he just had that one bad season and thought, nah, that's not for me, I'm going now. So I mean, I would say Max Verstappen and Ferrari could work out, but I think for me he should stick with Red Bull until his contract is definitely up. He shouldn't say, right, okay, I want to be out now. It's like, no, stay where you are, keep your feet on the ground, you will do some good things at Red Bull. I generally do believe you will.
Yeah.
I think Red Bull will be back up there. It's just the past couple of years just hasn't gone for them ever since the V6 era. I think it will get better for them in the future, or maybe even when these new engine rules comes out in 2021. They might return to the summit of Formula One. So it is all about the future. It is all about the future about basically Max Verstappen, obviously watching him as well. He might even move to Mercedes.
Yeah. Well, he might do. I don't think Mercedes are on the horizon. I mean, Niki Lauda has said before that Max isn't going to go to Mercedes. Well, he doesn't really fancy Max Verstappen to go to Mercedes. Just isn't really a drive that they want. Obviously, he likes to move through the Mercedes program. I mean, people like Pascal Wehrlein. I think he's still somebody who they'll be watching like a rookie, kind of like in Max Verstappen's place. But one thing I was going to say about Verstappen was obviously, remember when he did that trading place and people were saying that he had the most power in the paddock. Obviously, him and his dad, obviously, moving, from Toro Rosso to Red Bull, just kind of like willy-nilly, you know what I mean? Like, moving, like that, really. Yeah. And do you think if he wanted this Ferrari move, let's paint a picture of, obviously, at the end of the season, okay? You've got Raikkonen leaves Ferrari, obviously, either a retirement or going to Rallycross, or Sebastian goes to Mercedes, which I can't see happening anymore. But, one of the two, one Ferrari driver leaves for one particular reason. Do you think, for some reason, do you think Max and obviously his dad will kind of like join forces, a bit like the trading place, and kind of like, not bully the decision out, but kind of, advise it along? Because obviously, well, we all know for a fact, obviously, because he also said that, he was behind the trading places saying, obviously, he was behind Christian Horner, Dr. Helmut Marko, and Dieter Mateschitz making the decision, obviously, to demote Daniel Kvyat to Toro Rosso, and obviously then promote Max Verstappen. So do you think that'll happen? Do you think that even what we've said about the contract, do you still think that obviously, power and money will run supreme, that, Red Bull, obviously, with his dad, will be pushing people like Christian Horner to kind of make that happen? Then news will spread through to people like Arriva Bene, and then, long story short, Australia 2018 comes around and we see Verstappen in red overalls. Because, I know that contracts stand, but obviously in terms of the power that I think Max has in the paddock, I do think that he can kind of make a lot of things happen. You know what I mean? I think a lot of things he can make happen, obviously, especially with his dad and the influence that he has. So, I mean, do you think that would be possible, that he could kind of like fill the system and get to Ferrari whenever he wanted?
Possibly. I think his dad's there maybe to like try and help push the deals, because with Jos, he was like, he wants the best place for his son, obviously, because obviously they've went through the ranks together. Obviously, Jos racing in Formula One. He wants the best for his son. At the end of the day, what you've got to remember is that it's his child. At the end of the day, this isn't like, coming in, management guy, just like, oh, hi, my name's Jos. You must be Max. It's like, no,
he knows what's best for Max. Obviously, I mean, it's not the worst thing to have behind you, I guess. And obviously, being in Formula One is great because he has that experience.
It's a bonus. Exactly. So obviously he'll have contacts as well, but obviously, like every parent, he just wants the best for his child. Now, if he says, right, okay, Max, I can't force you to move. I can't say, right, you're going to Ferrari. If not, you're grounded for a month.
Obviously that'll happen, because obviously then, you're right, because obviously the next race, since that decision, it'll be like, oh, where's Max Verstappen on the grid? Oh, he's been grounded by his dad.
But right, breaking news: Pierre Gasly is set to replace Max Verstappen at the British Grand Prix.
Oh, what about Daniel Kvyat? He should be due an upgrade. But anyway, but obviously, just on the topic of that, obviously, Jos has said that he's taking a bit of a step back, and I don't mean that Jos is kind of like bullying anyone in terms of the decision. I'm not saying anything like that. I mean, obviously, Max, deserves everything that he deserves. Obviously, all the promotions and the race wins that he gets. Obviously, he definitely deserved the trading places. But obviously, that was such an obscure move, because I think he had, obviously, we all know that he talked to people like Helmut Marko and things like that. I just think though that obviously, if a seat does become available, and it'll be kind of like a run to the door, do you think Jos will be the one who will kind of, everyone will be running on foot, and then Jos will be the one that'll pull up in a car and just get in? He'll do like an Arnold Schwarzenegger and go, come with me if you want to live, and he'll just go to the door, and he'll just drop Max off at the end, and get the Ferrari deal. Let's do the best for his kid, really. I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes back. It doesn't matter how, where you are. So I'm doing the best for your kid. And obviously, as Sebastian Vettel said, when I think he first went, obviously, when he made the transition from blue to red, from Austria to Italy, he said, obviously, it's all every kid's dream to drive for Ferrari. So obviously, Max, I don't know, I'm not saying that Max can do whatever he wants, but it would be good. I think Max has more power than other drivers to get into a team like that.
Yes, I would honestly agree, because as I said before, I think Jos does have contacts and stuff about how with other teams and stuff. Probably ready in case his boy wants to move elsewhere. I think Max. I think with Jos saying that he's going to take a step back, I think that's only because in the public eye he's going to take a step back. So he's going to let Max do all the pretty media stuff, whereas like Jos is going to sit back and right, okay, I'm going to help on the transfer table, on the negotiation table, just to try and get drive and help my boy get the drive that he wants. Because obviously, as like Lyle said about Sebastian Vettel, it's every kid's dream to drive for Ferrari in Formula 1. Everybody wants to do it. It doesn't matter who you are. You can win 10 titles at Mercedes, you still want to drive for Ferrari. So it's just one of the things that you say that you can say that you've done. So I think Max Verstappen, a drive for Ferrari would be the dream. Would be like, right, I've reached the top of Formula 1 now. All I need to do is just drive well and become a legend, not only in Formula 1 but in Ferrari as well. But anyways, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching as well. Loved your company today. Loved your company. Episode 61, pinging through these episodes so far. Actually, I think rumor has it that we're about halfway through the season already, judging by these episodes. So
I know it has.
Wow, time
really
is flying.
It really has. I mean, obviously, we were in Australia like a few days ago. You know what I mean? It just,
crazy. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, is this like the halfway point for us? And I think it is. I'm not too sure, but it's roughly the halfway point. But I was like, wow, just think about how fast the season's gone so far. But anyway, obviously random talk there. I don't know why. But anyways, thank you very much for watching as well. If you have liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe as well. If you're new around here, we do love subscribe as well, don't we? Around here, obviously join into any debates that you've listened to with us. Obviously, let us know your opinions as well, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We've been there for the debate show. I will see you next week.
See you later, guys.